I'm going to appeal to you. So I'm a mother of two. And I'm going to take like a minute and a half instead of a minute, okay? I'm a mother of a son who's a boy of color. My husband, who's African American from Baltimore, so maybe we'll have to talk later, says that my son has 3 strikes against him. He's black, he's Latino, and he's a boy. And he, although we are both educated, he has a fear, my husband, about my son and his educational experience that I can't admit that I really can relate to, except now I can. He's 7 years old. 6 weeks into his first grade. So I guess the point I want to make here is this is not relegated to poor boys of color. This is boys of color. My son has privileges. He has a mother who's got a PhD, who works at a university. Hopefully he'll want to go there so I don't have to pay the thousands of dollars. He will be going to George Washington University. He has a father who is involved, who loves being a father, who is educated, who works. We are part of a community. And he goes to Montgomery County Public Schools, which is the best school district in the country. First grader, 6 weeks into school. I call him my dreamer because he can get lost in the sky and the stars, and he might walk down a hall and he might actually bump into something because he's just paying attention to other things. But he's a smart kid. But 6 weeks into school, his first grade teacher became increasingly frustrated with him. I was 6 weeks into first grade. Notes were coming home constantly. He can't focus. He's highly distracted. Owen can't complete his work. He falls asleep every day. Falls asleep every day? What are you talking about? I feed my child. He goes to sleep. I know the kind of parent he has. I know that we try to stay on top of that. He asks questions over and over. This was constant. This was for weeks now. I met with her. I was an active parent. I advocated for my child. Let me go have a meeting with the teacher. Let me go figure out what's going on. What can I do? What can we do? It escalated to the point where she finally said, in my face, he is just clueless. I have to tell you that at that point, my degree went out the window. But you know what? But you know what's interesting, though? I have to tell you this. I should have been angry. And actually what I did is I started to feel like, what did I do wrong? What didn't I do? What's wrong with Owen? Could I have missed something? I'm a child psychologist. I'm embarrassed. What did I miss? Because I knew what the language she was saying. He's not focused. He's not attending. Get him assessed. He's got ADHD. That's what was going on here. I knew that much. And I thought, I know every one of my girlfriends, every friend I've ever had is a psychologist. I could do one of them could do an assessment. Thank God they know me well enough to say, stop for a second, take a breath, okay? And I have to say my principal, who was one of my champions, my principal of our school, because I went to him and I explained and I talked to him and the school counselor, who was wonderful. And I said, I don't understand what's happening here. And he said, you know what? We're going to take a risk. We're going to move him. We're going to move him to another teacher. And because everything about how she was interacting with him made him feel like he wasn't liked. Her responses became more punitive. He had to stay in from recess because he couldn't finish his work. He couldn't go play. And as that happened, his complaints increased. He was having nightmares. He said he didn't want to go to school anymore. He doesn't feel good. I'm stupid. First grade, 6 weeks into first grade. His self-confidence took a nosedive. And so we decided we would do that. So to cut the story short, we did move him to another teacher. And although that was disruptive, I have to tell you, it was the best decision we made. The current teacher reports he's never fallen asleep once. She has not a single problem with him. He asks questions just as much as anybody else. The former teacher, I said, well, compared to the other first graders, because he's a boy, how's he doing? She said, much, 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 much worse. That's a quote. The current teacher, I said, every day, give me some notes, tell me how he's doing. She said, Dr. Price, he's fine. He's great. He loves it here. What was the difference? They're both white women, okay? So it wasn't a race thing, so we could just put that aside. Okay, what was the difference? One formed a relationship with him and saw potential in him and saw that he could do it. And the other one did not. So just to finish up, new friends that I made at the table, a middle school principal, I don't know where he went, but he's one of my new best friends, is that it is so important. Schools are critical, communities and parents. You can't be without that. But you, the institution, the schools are so incredibly important, and the teachers who are daily interacting with your children can color the experience of education for your child for life. What would have happened if I kept him in that classroom? What was his early experience in first grade? How would that have tainted the rest of his experience? He would have fallen behind, so on and so forth. Happily, I won't know. But we have to attend to the social, emotional competencies of the adults around our kids. It is our imperative. We have to do it.
Thank you.